Brooke Sullivan stood in front of the bedroom mirror, adjusting her light sea green summer dress. Sun rays filtered through the sheer curtains, washing the room in golden hues. Today was a special day, her and Nathan's third wedding anniversary. She had decided to surprise her husband by visiting him at work with his favorite cream puffs from the Sugar Mill Bakery. Nathan Carter, her husband, was the director of a large construction firm called Apex Global Construction, AGC. He usually came home late, exhausted, but he always found time to listen to her stories of the day. Brooke worked as a child psychologist at a private development center, and her workday finished earlier. She had decided to use this extra time to cheer up her beloved. Checking the clock, it was 3:30. Brooke grabbed her purse and the box of pastries. The trip to the office usually took about 20 minutes on the bus. She imagined how surprised Nathan would be to see her in his office. The AGC corporate office building was located in the city's downtown business center. It was a modern 7-story complex of glass and concrete, surrounded by the greenery of a small plaza. Brooke had been there several times for corporate events. She knew the way to the elevators and the number of her husband's office. However, a security guard stopped her at the entrance, a heavy-set man in his 50s with gray streaks in his dark hair. His badge read, "Walter, Security." "Hold up," he said, raising his hand. "Entry is prohibited to unauthorized personnel. Do you have an access pass or an appointment?" Brooke was surprised. He was probably new. "I'm Nathan Carter's wife, the director of the firm. I wanted to give my husband a surprise." The guard looked at her intently, but no recognition registered in his eyes. "My apologies, ma'am, but I see the director's wife practically every day, and you are definitely not her. In fact, here she comes now." Brooke turned and saw a woman walking toward the exit, tall and slender, with dark hair pulled back in an elegant bun. She wore an expensive business suit and carried a designer leather handbag. The woman looked poised and familiar. Brooke's heart leaped. She recognized her. It was Victoria Sterling, Nathan's ex-wife, the same woman he had divorced 5 years ago before meeting Brooke. "Miss Victoria," the guard called out, "I'll see you at the usual time tomorrow." "Of course, Mr. Walter," she replied in a melodious voice. "Tell Mr. Nathan Carter that I had to leave for a business matter. I'll see him tomorrow afternoon." Victoria passed Brooke without paying her any attention and headed toward the parking lot. Brooke almost choked on what she had heard. Her thoughts spun in a whirlwind. What did that mean? See you at the usual time tomorrow? Why was his ex-wife at her husband's office every day? And most importantly, why did the guard know the ex-wife so well? Making a quick decision, Brooke decided to play along. "Excuse me, I must have the wrong building. Could you tell me how I can get to Mr. Bermudez in the Human Resources Department? We have an appointment." The guard, satisfied that he had unmasked an imposter, politely explained the way. Brooke went up to the 3rd floor, but instead of heading to Human Resources, she went to the elevator leading to the 5th floor, where Nathan's office was located. Brooke cautiously peeked around the corner. Nathan's office was at the end of the long hallway. His door was slightly ajar. She could see him sitting at his massive desk, focused on reviewing some documents. His dark hair was slightly tousled. He looked concentrated and tired. Just then, the associate director, Gregory Walsh, a heavy-set man with a kind face and perpetually smiling eyes, entered the office. "Nathan, how are things going with the Parkside Boulevard project? Miss Victoria submitted all the necessary paperwork." Brooke's heart began to beat faster. So Victoria really was involved with work. "Yes, everything is in order. She'll bring the final calculations tomorrow. We wouldn't have been able to handle this project without her." "It's a good thing you two were able to maintain a working relationship," Gregory commented. "It doesn't work out for everyone, although I understand why you're keeping this collaboration quiet." Victoria is a professional, Nathan responded briefly, and as for Brooke, I simply don't want to give her unnecessary reasons to worry. She can be too sensitive about these things sometimes. Brooke felt everything contract inside her. It turned out that Nathan was not only maintaining a relationship with his ex-wife, but was working with her and consciously hiding it, considering her too sensitive. Gregory left, and Brooke decided not to risk exposure any further. She quickly went down to the first floor and left the building. Victoria was already driving away, but Brooke remembered her car's license plate, a silver Honda sedan with license plate 547LMA. The entire bus ride home, Brooke was lost in thought. Why was Nathan hiding the fact that he was working with his ex-wife? What was the Parkside Boulevard project? And most importantly, could she trust a husband who considered her so immature that he couldn't share business matters? At home, she mechanically placed the box of pastries on the kitchen counter and settled down to wait for Nathan. He usually returned around 7 p.m. in the evening, but today he was delayed until 9:30. "Hey, sweetie," he kissed her tiredly on the cheek. "Sorry I'm late, so much work. I was delayed with important negotiations." "What negotiations?" she couldn't help but ask. "Brooke." Nathan looked at her surprised. "The Parkside Boulevard project, complex technical matters. What's going on? You seem a little strange." Brooke wanted to ask about Victoria, but something stopped her. She said, "I bought your favorite cream puffs. I wanted to bring them to the office, but I changed my mind." "Thanks," Nathan smiled. "And why to the office? It's cozier at home. Besides, we're in such a tense situation with the project right now, constant meetings." This sentence definitively convinced Brooke that her husband was hiding something. If everything were honest, he would have been happy about her desire to visit him at work. He wouldn't have discouraged her. The next morning, Nathan left for work at 8:30 as usual. Brooke only had morning classes scheduled with the children on Thursdays. She was free after lunch. She decided to use this extra time to find out what was going on between her husband and her ex-wife. Her conscience tormented her, but the desire to know the truth was stronger. After work, around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Brooke arrived at the AGC corporate office building and sat on a bench in the plaza across the street. From there, she had a good view of the entrance and the parking lot. Victoria's silver Honda sedan was in the parking lot. That meant she had arrived in the morning or around lunchtime. Brooke waited. Time passed agonizingly slowly. She imagined Victoria sitting in her husband's office, discussing projects, laughing over some shared memories. At 3:30, Victoria left the building, but instead of getting into her car, she walked down the street. Brooke hurried after her, trying to maintain a distance. Victoria arrived at a small cafe called Benny's Corner Bistro and went inside. Through the window, she saw her sit at a table and order something from the waitress. Soon, an older woman joined her, with a child. It was a boy about 5 or 6 years old, wearing a yellow t-shirt and cut-off denim shorts. He hugged Victoria and she stroked his head and kissed him. Then the three of them, Victoria, the woman, and the child, walked to the playground next to the cafe. Brooke froze. Her throat dried. Could it be possible? Did Nathan have a child from his first marriage that he had never told her about? Brooke watched the trio on the playground. The boy swung on the swings, while Victoria and the woman stood nearby, chatting. Sometimes Victoria would approach the child, straighten his clothes, or say something to him. The resemblance. Brooke scrutinized the facial features of the boy. Dark hair like Nathan's, the shape of his eyes also reminded her of her husband, and the chin exactly like Nathan's. With trembling hands, Brooke carefully took several photos on her phone. Her heart was beating so loudly it felt like the whole street could hear it. How could Nathan hide the existence of his own child from her? They had been married for 3 years. They planned to have children next year. How could he have lied to her all this time? Brooke recalled their first months of dating. Back then, Nathan spoke very little about his past, about his first marriage. She thought he was pained to remember the failed relationship. Now she understood that perhaps he simply didn't want to scare her away with the closeness to his ex-wife. But back then, they were only dating. Now they were husband and wife. There shouldn't be secrets between spouses. When Nathan came home, Brooke studied his face, trying to find signs of guilt or concealment. But he looked the same as always, tired after a day of work. "Sweetie, you're acting strange again," he noted. "Did something happen?" Brooke almost cracked. She wanted to tell him everything, talk about her surveillance, and ask all the questions tormenting her. But something stopped her. "I'm just tired," she lied. "A lot of work at the center." Nathan hugged her. "How about we go somewhere this weekend? You can get a break from everything." "Do you not have plans for the weekend?" Brooke asked cautiously. "None special, just you and me." For some reason, this statement didn't reassure her. Instead, it made her even more uneasy. What if he did have plans involving Victoria and the boy, and he was lying again? At home, Brooke paced the apartment like a wounded bird. She looked at the photographs of the boy on her phone, trying to find or disprove the resemblance to Nathan. Sometimes the similarity seemed obvious. Other times she felt she had completely made it up. But the facts spoke for themselves. Victoria appeared at her husband's office every day. The guard took her for his wife. She picked up the boy and spent time with him, and Nathan was silent about all of it. Brooke tried to remember what she knew about Nathan's first marriage. They met a year after his divorce from Victoria. At the time, he said the marriage had broken up due to different visions of life, and that they had separated peacefully, without a scandal. He never mentioned children once, but he might have simply avoided mentioning it at the beginning of the relationship, and then it became awkward to confess later. Brooke tried to put herself in Nathan's shoes. How do you tell a new woman that you have a child from a previous marriage, especially if the relationship with the ex-wife is complicated? But 3 years? They had been living together as husband and wife for 3 years. How could he hide something like that? Brooke remembered that sometimes Nathan received strange calls. He would move to another room, speak in a low voice, and then explain they were work matters. Now, these calls took on a new meaning. Also, sometimes he was delayed at work without explanation, or left on weekends for unspecified errands. Brooke had always trusted him and never asked unnecessary questions. Now, every one of those episodes seemed suspicious. When Nathan came home around 8:30, Brooke could barely contain herself from launching into accusations, but she decided to gather more facts first. "How are things?" he asked, kissing her cheek as always. "Normal. And yours?" "Tense. The Parkside Boulevard project requires constant attention. I spent the whole day in meetings today." "And what exactly is this project?" she inquired cautiously. "Brooke." Nathan hesitated for a second. "Construction of a residential complex. Nothing interesting, just calculations and paperwork. Are you working alone, or is someone helping you?" "Our team is close. Everyone helps," Nathan responded evasively. "And why all the questions?" Brooke realized she had gone too far. "I'm just interested in your work. We so rarely talk about it." "Work is work," Nathan shrugged. "When I'm home, I want to rest from it." This answer definitively convinced Brooke that her husband was hiding something. On Friday, Brooke again only had morning classes. After work, she went back to the AGC office. Victoria, like the day before, appeared around 2 in the afternoon. Brooke decided to act more decisively. She waited for Victoria to enter the building and went to the parking lot. The silver Honda sedan was in the same spot. Brooke cautiously peered inside. In the back seat was a child's backpack with pictures of superheroes. Her heart pounded. Was it the boy's backpack? At 3:30, Victoria left the building as she had yesterday, but today she immediately got in the car and drove away. Brooke called a rideshare and asked the driver to follow the silver Honda sedan. "Following someone?" the driver smiled. "A man in his 40s with a kind face. Is the husband cheating?" "Something like that," Brooke replied evasively. Victoria drove toward the residential neighborhoods of the city. She stopped at a nondescript N-story building on Riverview Street. She got out of the car and entered the lobby. Brooke asked the driver to wait and also entered the lobby. A tenant list hung on the wall. She scanned the surnames. Jones, Miller, Harrison, the guard. Sterling. This was Victoria's maiden name. Sterling, Genevieve, apartment 43. That meant Victoria's sister lived here and used the same last name.
That meant either she hadn't been married or returned to her maiden name. Brooke went up to the 4th floor and listened. From the slightly open door of apartment 43, she could hear a woman's voice and a child's voice. "Auntie Victoria, are we going to the park today?" "Of course, Leo. First we'll eat and give Mommy her medicine." "And when will Mommy be all better?" "Soon, little man. The doctor said in about a week she can pick you up from daycare herself." Brooke stood motionless. Mommy is sick, so that's why Victoria was picking up the child and spending time with him. But this didn't explain the main thing. Whose child was he, and why did he look so much like Nathan? Brooke went downstairs and got back in the car. The driver was waiting patiently, flipping through news on his phone. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he asked. "Not quite yet," Brooke confessed. Half an hour later, Victoria and the Leo came out of the building. They got in the Honda and drove toward downtown. Brooke asked the driver to follow them. This time, Victoria stopped at the children's clinic. She and the Leo went inside. Brooke got out of the car, paid the driver, and also entered the clinic. There was a line at the reception desk, and Brooke stood in it, observing Victoria and the Leo. They were sitting in the hallway waiting for their consultation. The Leo was fussy and didn't want to sit still. Victoria patiently calmed him. "Next, Donovan Leo Y," the nurse called. Brooke listened attentively. Donovan, Leo, Y. Donovan. The last name was different from Victoria's and her sister's. The middle initial Y meant the child's father was you something, not Nathan. The relief was so powerful that Brooke almost burst into tears right there in the clinic hallway. But the joy quickly shifted to new questions. If the boy wasn't Nathan's child, then who was he? And why did he look so much like Nathan? And why did Victoria's sister use the Sterling last name while the boy was Donovan? After the medical consultation, Victoria and Leo went to the pharmacy, then to the park. Brooke followed, but no longer with her former desperation, but rather out of curiosity. At the park, a young woman joined them, Victoria's sister. She looked very pale and unwell. Brooke moved closer, pretending to photograph the ducks in the pond, and managed to overhear part of the conversation. "How are you feeling, Genevieve?" Victoria asked. "Better. The doctors say I can go back to work Monday. Thank you so much for watching Leo." "It's nothing. He's my nephew, and I love spending time with him." "And Mr. Nathan Carter doesn't object to you spending so much time on us?" Brooke tensed up. "Nathan understands. He knows our situation. He even loaned me money for the treatment when I reached out to him."
"I'll have to pay him back as soon as I get my salary. Don't rush it. The main thing is for you to make a full recovery." Brooke felt like she had been struck by lightning. It turned out that the boy's resemblance to Nathan was a coincidence. The child simply resembled his father. That evening at home, Brooke couldn't settle down. On the one hand, she felt relieved that the child was not Nathan's son. On the other hand, the fact of her husband's secrecy still tormented her. Why didn't he tell her that he was helping his ex-wife? Why was he hiding that they worked together? Did he trust her so little that he couldn't share such important matters? Brooke tried to imagine herself in Nathan's place. How do you tell your wife that you are helping your ex-spouse, especially if you know the wife might misunderstand or get jealous? But helping people close to you is a wonderful quality. Why did Nathan think he had to hide it? Saturday passed in an artificial attempt to behave as usual. The couple went to the mall, bought groceries, and watched a movie at home. But Brooke felt tension in every gesture her husband made. His phone rang twice, and both times he moved to another room to answer. The conversations were short, but Brooke noticed. He spoke more quietly. "Who was calling?" she asked. "Work matters," Nathan replied. On Saturday evening, they were sitting on the couch watching the news. Nathan had his arm around Brooke, but she felt his distance. "Nathan," she finally said, "I feel like something hasn't been right between us lately." He looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean? You've become distant. You talk very little about work, and you're often distracted." "Just lots of things going on," he replied. "It's a tense period at work." "Maybe I can help somehow. Listen, support you." Nathan paused, then said, "There is a situation, but I don't want to burden you with it." Brooke's heart started beating faster. "Tell me,
We're husband and wife. We must share everything." Nathan was silent again. Genevieve, Victoria's sister, was recently in the hospital, serious surgery. Victoria asked for help with her nephew. Brooke froze. Finally, he was starting to talk. "And you're helping?" she asked cautiously. "Well, yes. Victoria sometimes works with us as an outside consultant, and now there's this situation. I had to loan her money for the treatment." Brooke noticed that he was still not telling the whole truth. He presented the collaboration with Victoria as rare consultations, not daily work. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Nathan looked at her guilty. "I was afraid you would misunderstand. The ex-wife at work every day. Any woman in your place wouldn't be happy. And what is there to misunderstand here?" Brooke felt both relief and offense simultaneously. "You're helping a sick woman and a child. That's wonderful." "Are you jealous?" Nathan asked uncertainly. "Of a sick woman and a child?" Brooke tried to smile. "Nathan, you know I'm not like that." But inside, the offense and doubt still churned. Why was he so worried about her reaction? Did he consider her that jealous and petty? And why was he still not talking about the daily meetings with Victoria at the office? On Sunday, Nathan was noticeably calmer, having told part of the truth. He seemed to have lifted a weight off his shoulders. During breakfast, he himself started talking about Victoria. "You know, I think you two should meet. She's a good person. We just didn't work out in the marriage." Brooke almost choked on her coffee. "Meet her?" "Well, yeah, since we sometimes work together and now we're helping their family. It's silly to pretend you don't know her. She's also worried that I have a new family and we cross paths all the time for work." "I'll think about it," Brooke said. After breakfast, Nathan went to the store and Brooke was left alone with her thoughts. She understood that her husband had told her far from everything. He hadn't mentioned that Victoria was at the office every day, that the guard mistook her for his wife, or that they were working together on an important project. Why was he still hiding something? And most importantly, could she trust a husband who, even when telling the truth, didn't present it completely? Brooke decided to give herself a little more time to think. Maybe it was worth trying to talk to Victoria directly, or perhaps it was better to wait until Nathan told her everything himself. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was her mother. "Brooke, how are things? You haven't called in a while." "Everything's fine, Mom," Brooke lied. "Working, living. And Nathan, is he being good to you?" "What are you talking about, Mom? What do you mean good? I can hear in your voice that something's wrong. A mother's heart never is wrong." Brooke almost cried. How she wanted to tell her mother everything, vent and get advice, but she couldn't until she sorted out the situation herself. She couldn't involve anyone else in her doubts. "Everything's normal. I'm just a little tired." "Well, I won't push it, but if anything happens, call me right away." After the conversation with her mother, Brooke felt even more alone. It turned out she couldn't talk to her husband, her mother, or her friends. All her doubts and fears were locked inside. On Monday, Brooke went to work, but her mind was occupied with everything except the children. She mechanically gave lessons, read stories, and played educational games, but her thoughts constantly returned to Nathan and Victoria. During her lunch break, she decided to visit the AGC office one more time, not to spy, just to observe their interaction once more, now knowing part of the truth. At the building's entrance, she was again greeted by the guard, Walter. "Trying to get to the director again?" he smiled. "How many times do I have to explain?" "Perhaps you're mistaken," Brooke cautiously suggested. "Maybe that woman is just an employee." Walter laughed. "What employee? Miss Victoria has been working here for several months now. She comes every day. The director takes her everywhere with him, to meetings, to construction sites, and just recently he brought her flowers to her office. The vase is still right there. What employee acts like that?" Brooke's heart dropped. Flowers in the office, joint trips to construction sites? This looked far more intimate than mere work relations. "I see," was all she could manage to say. Just then, Nathan and Victoria entered the building. She held a folder with documents. They were talking seriously about something. Nathan pointed to some blueprints. Victoria nodded. Brooke made up her mind. She stepped out of the corner and walked straight towards them. "Nathan," she called. Her husband turned and froze in surprise. "Brooke, what are you doing here?" "I decided to bring you lunch," she lied, holding up a bag from the cafe she had bought on the way. Victoria looked at her curiously. Up close, she was even more beautiful. Fine facial features, expressive brown eyes, impeccable makeup. Nathan introduced them. "Victoria, let me introduce you. This is my wife, Brooke. He's talked so much about you." "The pleasure's mine," Brooke replied, shaking her cool hand. An awkward silence followed. Nathan clearly didn't know what to say. "I should go," Victoria broke the silence. "Mr. Nathan Carter, the documents are ready. We'll discuss the details tomorrow." She turned to Brooke. "It was a pleasure meeting you." Victoria headed towards the parking lot and Brooke was left with her husband. "Why did you come here?" he asked. "I wanted to meet her. You suggested it yourself." "But not like this. I thought we would meet in a relaxed setting, talk normally." "What, was it uncomfortable?" Brooke looked intently at her husband's face. "Just unexpected," Nathan replied. "Come on, let's go up to the office. I'll show you where I work." They walked past the startled guard. Nathan's office turned out to be spacious and bright. Large windows overlooked the city park. The massive desk was covered with documents and blueprints. Photos of construction sites hung on the walls. On the windowsill, there really was a beautiful vase of white roses. "It's beautiful in here," Brooke said,
nodding toward the flowers. "Who gave them to you?" Nathan blushed slightly. "It's a work gift from the team when we signed the Parkside Boulevard project contract." "From whom?" From the whole project team." Brooke knew he was lying. Teams don't give such elegant bouquets. It was a personal gift, most likely from Victoria. She walked up to the desk. Among the papers, she noticed a photograph. Nathan and Victoria stood together in front of a building under construction, both wearing hard hats, smiling at the camera. But now Brooke saw more details. Victoria was leaning slightly toward Nathan, almost touching his shoulder. The pose looked quite intimate. "What's this?" she asked, pointing to the photo. Nathan looked and blushed slightly. "A work moment when we launched the Parkside Boulevard project recently, about 3 months ago." "Nathan," Brooke said, "I think you're still hiding something. Victoria doesn't just work with you on this project, does she? The guard downstairs said he sees her every day and has for several months." Nathan sighed heavily and sank into his chair. "Yes, she works here. She's a very good architect, a top-level specialist. When we launched the Parkside Boulevard project, I offered her a permanent collaboration." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you would worry. The ex-wife at work every day. Any woman in your position wouldn't be thrilled." Brooke sat down opposite him. "Nathan, I'm not any woman. I'm your wife, and I want to know the truth, even if I don't like it." "Fine," he said after a pause. "Yes, Victoria has been working with us for 4 months. Yes, we cross paths every day for work. Yes, I'm helping her with family problems, but there's nothing romantic between us except for work and an old friendship." "Friendship? We were married for 3 years. We can't become enemies just because we divorced." Brooke pondered his words. They had logic, but something still bothered her. "And why does the guard think she's your wife?" Nathan looked at her in surprise. "How do you know that?" Brooke realized she had given herself away. "He told me himself when I came by last week." "You came by last week? When?" "On Wednesday. I wanted to surprise you, but the guard wouldn't let me in." Nathan rubbed his forehead. "Walter, he simply doesn't know I got married a second time. When Victoria started working with us, I didn't tell everyone the details of our past. I decided that the fewer rumors, the better." "So, your employees don't know I exist?" "Of course they know, just not everyone." Brooke felt a new pang of hurt.
It turned out that Nathan was hiding their marriage so well at work that even the guard thought Victoria was still his wife. After the conversation in the office, Brooke felt even more confused. On one hand, Nathan had finally told her about the collaboration with Victoria. On the other hand, it turned out he had hidden the fact of his second marriage from his colleagues. That evening, when Nathan went to shower, she picked up his phone. Her conscience troubled her, but the desire to know the truth was stronger. In the list of recent calls, she saw the name Victoria. There were incoming and outgoing calls practically every day, sometimes several times. Brooke opened the messages. The correspondence was varied. Yes, there were many work messages: documents ready, meeting postponed by an hour, must discuss project changes. But there were also more personal ones. Thank you for the support. You're right, as always. I don't know what I would do without you. And at the very end, Brooke saw messages from the past few days. Victoria, thanks for the help with Genevieve. She's getting discharged tomorrow. Leo is so happy. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Nathan's reply, don't rush the money. The main thing is that everyone is healthy. Give Leo my love. Victoria, he's asking when Uncle Nathan is coming to visit. Maybe this weekend. Nathan, we'll see. Right now, Brooke doesn't know anything about the situation. Victoria, I understand, but maybe you should tell her. She's not an outsider. Nathan, eventually. I'm not ready for that conversation yet. Brooke closed the phone, feeling a mixture of relief and offense. On one hand, the correspondence confirmed that there was nothing romantic between her husband and Victoria. They were genuinely helping a sick sister and her son. On the other hand, Nathan was discussing with his ex-wife what he couldn't discuss with his current one. When Nathan came out of the shower, Brooke was sitting on the bed looking guilty. What's wrong? He asked. Nathan, please forgive me. I checked your phone. He froze, towel in hand. Why? I wanted to make sure you were telling the truth. And what did you find there? The correspondence with Victoria, about work and about her sister, and about how you're not ready to talk to me about all of it. Nathan sat down next to her. Brooke, if there's no trust between us, then there's no marriage. You need to trust me. I'm trying to, but you hid so much, and you even discuss our relationship with her. I don't discuss our relationship. I was just explaining why I couldn't immediately tell you about a complicated situation. Why couldn't you? Nathan reflected. Because I was afraid you would misunderstand, that you would think I still felt something for Victoria, and I only feel friendship and gratitude because she didn't make a scene during the divorce. Brooke looked into his honest eyes. Nathan, I'm ready for the whole truth. Tell me everything. Nathan got up from the bed and walked over to the window. He silenced for a long time, gathering his courage. Okay, he finally said. I'll tell you everything from the beginning. He turned to Brooke. When Victoria and I divorced, I thought I would never see her again. But last year, I was offered a huge project, a residential complex on Parkside Boulevard. I needed a good architect, and everyone I knew was busy. Gregory suggested I reach out to Victoria. I knew she was a good specialist and was looking for work at the time. At first, I refused, but then I realized that personal relationships shouldn't interfere with business. And you asked her? Yes, we met, discussed the project, Victoria agreed, but on the condition that our personal relationship was in the past, just work, strictly professional, and that's all. Just work? Nathan sighed. At first, yes, but then it turned out her sister had serious health problems. Genevieve is raising her son alone. Her husband died in an accident. When the doctor said she needed surgery and there was no money, you loaned her money. Yes, I couldn't say no, especially since Victoria never asks for anything. She only reached out for help at the most critical moment. And the boy, Leo, when Genevieve was hospitalized, Victoria had to ask a neighbor for help, pick up the boy from daycare and take him to doctors. I helped several times driving him to the doctor when Victoria had meetings, and you grew attached to Leo. He's a good boy, and he looks a lot like his father, and something looked strikingly similar to me. Everyone noticed it. Leo also saw the resemblance, so he was drawn to me. Brooke nodded. Now everything was becoming clear. And why didn't you tell me anything? Nathan sat next to her. Because I was afraid of your reaction. Imagine your husband works with his ex-wife every day, gives her money and helps with her kid. How does that look from the outside? It looks like the act of a good person, and I thought it looked like a betrayal of our marriage. Brooke took his hand. Nathan, betrayal is when you deceive or lie, and helping people in trouble is nobility. But I lied. I hid important things from you. Yes, you did hide things, and that hurt, but now I understand why. Nathan embraced her. Forgive me. No more secrets. Do you promise? I promise. The next day, Brooke received an unexpected call from Victoria. Hello, Brooke. It's Victoria Sterling. We met yesterday. Good afternoon, Brooke replied, surprised. Could I meet you, talk heart to heart? About what? About Nathan, about our situation. I feel like problems have arisen between you because of me.
Brooke hesitated. I don't know. Let's meet at a cafe. I'll explain everything that's bothering you. They agreed to meet at Benny's Corner Bistro at 2 in the afternoon. Victoria arrived exactly at the appointed time. Today, she was dressed simply, jeans and a light blouse without her business attire. She looked younger and more open. Thank you for agreeing to meet, she said, sitting across from Brooke. I'm listening. Victoria ordered coffee and began. I know what you think of me, the ex-wife who's constantly around your husband, but things aren't what they seem. And what are they like? Nathan and I divorced 5 years ago. Yes, it was painful, but we were able to remain friends. We didn't have children, there were no property disputes. We simply realized we weren't right for each other as spouses. Brooke remained silent, listening. When I started having problems with work, Nathan suggested collaboration. I'm an architect, he's a builder. We complement each other well professionally. And the family problems? Victoria sighed. My sister, Genevieve, became seriously ill. She needed surgery and there was no money. Nathan loaned us the money without asking any unnecessary questions. And when she was hospitalized, I started picking up my nephew from daycare. Leo, Brooke said. Yes. Victoria looked at her in surprise. How do you know his name? Brooke blushed. I saw you two with him at the park. You followed us. Victoria frowned. When? Last week I was following you. There was an awkward silence. Then Victoria laughed. You followed us. Wow. And what did you think? That Leo was Nathan's son? Brooke confessed honestly. Nathan's son? Victoria laughed even harder. Oh my goodness, how you must have suffered. Leo is my sister's son. His father died in a car accident 2 years ago. Brooke felt completely foolish. He just looks so much like Nathan. Yes, there's a resemblance, Victoria agreed. Genevieve always said that Leo reminds her of my ex-husband. Maybe that's why Nathan grew so attached to him. He is attached. Of course, Nathan loves kids, and Leo is crazy about him. He constantly asks when Uncle Nathan is coming to visit. Brooke felt a heavy weight lift from her soul. Everything turned out to be much simpler and more honest than she had thought. Victoria, Brooke said, and why didn't Nathan tell me anything? He hid that you were working together. Victoria stirred her coffee with a spoon. Because of me. I asked him to. How? When we started collaborating, I told Nathan I didn't want to cause problems in his new family. I asked him not to publicize our communication. But why? I had a bad experience. An acquaintance of mine got married, and his wife raised a real scandal when she found out that we sometimes talked, even though there was nothing between us and never could be. Brooke nodded. She understood Victoria's logic. And when your sister got sick? Then, again, I asked Nathan not to tell you anything. I was ashamed that I had to ask my ex-husband for money, and I was afraid you would think I was taking advantage of his kindness. So all of this was because of me? Partially, but also because of me. I didn't want you to see me as a woman who can't manage her life without help from her ex-husband. Brooke reflected on what she had heard. It turned out that all of Nathan's secrets were caused by a desire to protect her feelings and not create problems. Victoria, and how is your sister now? Much better. She's already back at work, although the doctors told her not to overdo it. The operation was successful. And Leo?
Leo is happy that Mommy is home, although I think he misses his walks with Uncle Nathan. With Uncle Nathan? Yes, sometimes Nathan would join us at the park. Leo adores him. Plus, I have a friend, Benjamin Rhodes, a child psychologist. He's helping Leo cope with the loss of his father. We met recently, and the relationship is developing very well. I'm happy for you, too. Thank you. See, each of us has our own life. Nathan has you, and I have Benjamin, and our past is in the past. Brooke felt increasingly foolish with every passing minute. She had fabricated problems out of thin air, driven herself to the brink of a nervous breakdown, and in reality, there was no problem at all.
Victoria, I'm so embarrassed by my behavior. Don't be. Any woman in your place would have worried. But I followed you. That's awful. Forget it. The main thing is that everything is clear now. That evening, Brooke waited for Nathan with the firm intention of telling him everything about her surveillance, about the meeting with Victoria, and about her fears. When he came home, she immediately started. "Nathan, I need to tell you something, and you have every right to be mad at me." "What did you do?" he asked cautiously. "I followed Victoria 2 days in a row." Nathan sat on the couch and looked intently at his wife. "You followed her? Why?" Brooke told him everything about the guard, about her suspicions, about the child she mistook for his son. She spoke honestly, without trying to justify herself. Nathan listened in silence. When she finished, he didn't say anything for a long time. "You thought I had a son?" he finally asked. "Yes, and that I was hiding him from you." "Brooke, if I had a son, do you think I could hide it? From the first day we met, I would only talk about him." "I understand that now. But why didn't you just ask me directly? Why did you decide to spy?" Brooke lowered her eyes. "I was scared to hear the truth." "What truth? That I don't love you enough to trust you with important things?" Nathan hugged her. "Silly girl. I hid everything precisely because I love you. I didn't want you to suffer because of Victoria, and in the end, you suffered even more." "Yeah, that turned out silly. Forgive me." "I'm the one who should apologize, for the distrust, for the spying." "Well, I forgive you, but let's agree, no more secrets between us, okay?" They embraced, and for the first time in a long time, Brooke felt peaceful. The next day, Nathan came home with an unexpected proposal. "How about we invite Victoria and her family over?" "Seriously?" "Of course. Since we work together and now we're helping her sister, it would be strange to keep our distance, especially since Leo constantly asks if he can visit Uncle Nathan." Brooke considered it. She liked the idea. She wanted to definitively close this painful chapter, to meet Victoria's family normally, without suspicions and fears. "You know what? That's a great idea. We can host lunch on Sunday." "Excellent. I'll call Victoria and suggest it." On Saturday, they prepared for the guests together. Nathan bought groceries, Brooke tidied the apartment. She prepared her husband's favorite dishes. Her mood was high. She could finally behave naturally without making assumptions or tormenting herself with suspicions. "What if I don't like her sister?" Brooke suddenly worried. "You'll like her," Nathan said confidently. "Genevieve is a really good person, a strong woman, raising her son alone after her husband's death." "Tell me about her." "Genevieve is 3 years younger than Victoria. She works as a bookkeeper for a small company. She got married young, at 20. She kept his last name. Leo's father was a good man, a truck driver. Leo takes a lot after his father in personality, cheerful, outgoing." "And what happened?" "Accident on the highway 2 years ago. The truck skidded on ice and hit a tree. Genevieve almost lost it then." Brooke imagined the pain of the young woman who lost her husband, and her heart clenched with compassion. How did she cope? Victoria helped a lot. She moved in with her for several months. She watched Leo while Genevieve worked. Then, gradually, life returned to normal. "And the recent illness?" "Doctors say the stress was too much for her body, but everything's fine now. The surgery helped." Brooke felt growing respect for Victoria's family. These women went through serious trials and didn't break. On Sunday at 1:30, the doorbell rang. Brooke opened it and saw Victoria holding a bouquet of flowers.
Next to her was a short woman with short brown hair and kind eyes, and between them a boy in a bright red t-shirt fidgeted. "Hi," Victoria said. "This is my sister Genevieve, and this is Leo." "Nice to meet you." Genevieve extended her hand. "Thank you for inviting us." Leo hid behind his mom's leg but watched Brooke curiously. "Come in, make yourselves at home," Brooke invited. Nathan came out of the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. "Hello, everyone. Leo, how's it going?" The boy immediately perked up. "Uncle Nathan, do you have toys here?" "Of course we do," Nathan smiled. "Brooke works with kids. She has a whole collection." Brooke showed Leo a box of educational toys she sometimes brought home from the center. The boy immediately immersed himself in studying the building blocks. The adults settled at the table. Genevieve turned out to be a very pleasant conversationalist. She told funny stories about Leo. She asked about Brooke's work. She thanked Nathan for his help. "I don't know how we would have managed without you," she said, "with the money for the surgery and with Leo." "No need to thank me," Nathan waved it off. "In difficult situations, we have to help each other." "You have a wonderful husband," Genevieve told Brooke. "There aren't many people like him." Brooke looked at Nathan and felt a wave of tenderness. Yes, she really had a wonderful husband, a man who wouldn't abandon friends in trouble, helped another man's child, and cared for the vulnerable, and she had almost destroyed their relationship with her silly suspicions. "And have you known Victoria for a long time?" Genevieve asked. "Actually, we only met this week," Brooke confessed, "although I had heard about her." "Of course," Victoria smiled. "Brooke very delicately followed me for a few days." "Followed?" Genevieve was surprised. "She thought Leo was Nathan's son," Victoria explained. Genevieve laughed. "Of course, everyone says Leo looks like Mr. Nathan. Even I noticed it. My late husband looked strikingly similar to Nathan, almost twins." "And does Leo know that Uncle Nathan is Auntie Victoria's ex-husband?" Brooke asked. "Leo knows," Genevieve replied, "but it's not important to him. He just sees a good uncle who plays with him and buys him ice cream." Leo ran up to the table at that moment. "Mommy, Uncle Nathan is going to be my new daddy." An awkward silence fell. Genevieve brushed. "Leo, don't be silly." "But I want a daddy, and Uncle Nathan is good." Nathan knelt beside the boy. "Leo, I have my wife, Auntie Brooke, and you have your mom. But we can be friends. Want to?" "I want to," Leo cheered. "And Auntie Brooke will be my friend too?" Brooke looked into the honest eyes of the boy and felt her heart fill with warmth. "Of course I will. I want very much to be your friend. And Auntie Victoria has a friend too, Uncle Benjamin. He teaches me how to draw cars." "Leo?" "And that's great," Genevieve said. "Yes," the boy smiled. "Uncle Benjamin is good, and Auntie Victoria loves him." Victoria laughed. "Out of the mouths of babies. Benjamin is a wonderful person," Genevieve smiled. "Yes, Benjamin is a special person. Thanks to him." "That is great," Brooke said sincerely. "I'm really happy for all of you." After lunch, the women stayed in the kitchen doing dishes, while Leo and Nathan built a block tower on the rug. "Thank you for today," Genevieve said. "Leo loves being in a big crowd so much." "And have you thought about getting married again?" Brooke cautiously asked. Genevieve sighed. "I'm thinking about it more and more, but I'm afraid, what if it doesn't work out? Leo gets so attached to people." Brooke smiled, watching this family, how wrong she had been in her suspicions. Instead of a threat to her marriage, she saw people trying to put their lives together after difficult losses. "Genevieve," she said, "would you be interested in working at our development center? We really need a bookkeeper's assistant right now." "Seriously?" Genevieve brightened. "The salary is small but stable, and it's close to home, and most importantly, a supportive team. I need to think about it, but the idea of working at a children's center really appeals to me. Think about it. If you decide, give me a call." Laughter came from the living room. Nathan and Victoria were clearly having fun with Leo, discussing something. "They really remained friends," Genevieve noted. "That's rare." "Yes," Brooke agreed. "Now I understand it. And you're not jealous?" "There was a time when I was, but now I understand that it's silly to be jealous of the past. Nathan and Victoria had their time. It passed, and now Nathan has another life with me." "Wise," Genevieve approved, nodding. Just then, Nathan and Victoria entered the kitchen. "What are you two whispering about here?" Nathan asked.
Brooke offered me a job at her center, Genevieve said. That's an excellent idea, Nathan cheered. And Leo will be close to his mom. Yes, and he'll meet other children, Brooke added. Leo lifted his head from the blocks. There are people there to play with? Of course, Brooke assured him. Lots of kids of different ages. Then Mommy has to take the job, the boy declared. Everyone laughed. Well, Genevieve said, I will seriously consider your offer. Toward evening, the guests prepared to leave. Leo didn't want to say goodbye to his new friends, but his mom promised they would meet again. Thank you for the wonderful day, Victoria said, hugging Brooke. Goodbye, it was very important for me to meet you normally. For me too, Brooke replied. I'm sorry for all that nonsense with the suspicions. Forget it. The main thing is that we know each other now. Genevieve also said goodbye warmly. I'll think about your offer. Working in such an interesting place is very tempting. I'll wait for your call. Leo ran up to Nathan. Uncle Nathan, can I come visit again? Of course you can. Auntie Brooke and I will be waiting for you. And will you come visit us? I have lots of toy cars. We'll definitely come, Brooke promised. After the guests left, Nathan and Brooke stayed to clear the dishes. Did you like my friends? Nathan asked. Very much. Genevieve is an incredible woman, and Leo is simply a sweetheart. Yes, they're good people. I like helping them. Nathan, Brooke said, stopping in the middle of the kitchen, forgive me one more time for everything, for the distrust, for the spying, for almost destroying our relationship over silly fantasies. Nathan hugged her. Stop apologizing. I'm also to blame. I should have told you everything immediately, and now we have new friends and possibly new colleagues soon. If Genevieve takes the job, that would be great, and the communication with other children will be useful for Leo. And maybe we should think about having children too, Nathan proposed cautiously. Brooke looked at him in surprise. You think? Why not? We've been married for 3 years. Everything is stable, and seeing how you interacted with Leo today, I realized you would be a wonderful mom. And you'll be a wonderful dad. It shows in how much Leo is drawn to you. So what do you think? Brooke smiled. I think that's a wonderful idea. A week passed. Genevieve called and accepted the job at the Children's Center. The center director was pleased. He really needed an experienced bookkeeper. Miss Brooke, your recommendation was gold, he told her. Genevieve quickly got her bearings in all matters. Brooke was happy that everything worked out. Leo also quickly adapted to the new environment. He happily played with the other children, and after his mom's workday, he often stayed an hour or two longer to talk with Brooke. Victoria and Nathan continued working on the Parkside Boulevard project. Now, Brooke knew about their collaboration and even sometimes asked about the progress of the work. How's the construction coming along? She would ask during dinner. Well, Victoria brilliantly solved the problem with the upper floor planning. We would have struggled for another month without her. She really is a professional. Yes, a very talented architect. Too bad we didn't think of working together sooner. Brooke no longer felt jealous hearing praise for her ex-wife's professional qualities. She now understood that she could appreciate her ex-wife's professional qualities without threatening her current marriage. A year passed. Brooke sat in the rocking chair in the nursery feeding her 3-month-old daughter, Sophia. The summer sun shone outside. Peace and quiet reigned in the apartment. Nathan looked into the room. How are our girls? Sophia ate and is falling asleep, Brooke whispered, and the guests will be here soon. Yes, at 3. Today they were celebrating the first anniversary of their great company. That's what they jokingly called the group of friends that formed after that memorable Sunday lunch. Many things had changed over the year. Genevieve married the center's program coordinator, Daniel Scott. They had a modest but very warm wedding 4 months ago in a small circle of close friends. Leo was the ring bearer and was very proud of the role. He now had a real dad who adored him and officially adopted him. Victoria moved in with her beloved Benjamin 6 months ago. Their relationship was developing seriously, and they were planning a wedding for the autumn. He fit perfectly into their circle of friends and quickly befriended Leo.
and Nathan and Brooke had a daughter, Sophia, long awaited and much loved. Leo was delighted with his role as a big brother and constantly brought his toys to the baby. Uncle Nathan, when Sophia grows up, will she play with cars? Maybe, or maybe with dolls. Then I'll buy her a doll too. The Parkside Boulevard project was successfully completed. Victoria and Nathan received a new commission designing a children's center. Brooke joked that it was destiny. Genevieve adapted perfectly to the children's center and even received a promotion. She was now the head bookkeeper. Leo was in the preparatory group at the same center and was very proud that his mom worked there. At 3 o'clock, the guests arrived. Genevieve with Leo and Daniel, Victoria with Benjamin. Leo immediately ran to the crib to see Sophia. She grew, he reported admiringly, and she's smiling for real now. Of course, she's 3 months old already. And when will she start walking? Not yet. First, she'll learn to sit, then to crawl. I'll teach her everything. At the table, they recalled the past year, funny and touching moments, the difficulties they overcame, the joys they shared. And remember how Brooke followed me? Victoria laughed. How could I forget? Brooke blushed. I'm still embarrassed. And there's no need to be, Benjamin said. Any woman in your place would have worried. The main thing is that everything ended well, Nathan summed up. More than well, Genevieve added. Now we all have a new family. And I have lots of friends, Leo announced importantly. Mommy Genevieve, Daddy Daniel, Auntie Brooke, Uncle Nathan, Auntie Victoria, and Uncle Benjamin, and a little friend, Sophia. Nathan added, yes, the best company in the world. Brooke looked at these people. So different, yet so close. A year ago, she was afraid of losing her husband to her ex-wife, and now Victoria had become one of her best friends. Genevieve, a loyal friend and colleague, Benjamin, a wise counselor, Leo, a beloved nephew, and Daniel fit perfectly into their company. All her fears and suspicions turned out to be baseless. Nathan loved her. He was a faithful husband and a wonderful father, and his kindness toward the people that had once scared her now only strengthened her love for him. To our best company, Victoria proposed a toast. To friendship, Nathan seconded. To happiness, Genevieve added. To everything being all right, Leo finished, raising his glass of juice. Everyone raised their glasses, and Brooke thought she had never had a happier moment in her life. And it was all because they learned to trust each other and not be afraid to open their hearts to new people. Little Sophia woke up in her crib and cooed softly, as if she was also happy for the party. Leo immediately ran over to her. Hello, look how many friends you have. And Brooke understood that their family secret turned out to be not a secret at all, but the secret of true happiness, the ability to forgive, trust, and welcome good people into your life, no matter where they came from. A few months later, Victoria and Benjamin got married. Leo was the honored guest, and little Sophia was the youngest participant in the celebration. A year later, Victoria and Benjamin had a son, whom they named Oliver. Leo was delighted with the appearance of another little brother, and Sophia got a playmate.
Their great company continued to grow, filling up with new joys, new traditions, and new love. And Brooke thanked fate every day that her silly suspicions didn't destroy the happiness that awaited them all. Sometimes, looking at this close-knit group, she thought, what if on that very first day I had simply walked up to Nathan and asked him directly how much torment and fear could have been avoided? But then she understood. Perhaps those very trials made their families so strong and united, because now there were no secrets or distrust between them. They knew they could rely on each other in any situation, and most importantly, they knew that true love is not afraid of the truth, but is only strengthened by it.